to my very first kitchen episode for YouTube. I'm Cindy Ann and my co-host Loki, who thinks he's going for a walk because I walked into the kitchen. He's getting all excited. No, I'm sorry, we'll go after I cook, okay? So first thing I'm going to do in coming in here getting ready to make the eggplant bacon is I'm going to preheat the oven to 310 because the prep work is so quick that we're going to have it ready for the oven in less than 10 minutes flat. So the oven is preheated to 325. Next thing is going to put an apron on, not because I usually wear them in the kitchen, but because it was so darn cute that I thought I needed it for a cooking episode for YouTube. So it was an excuse to buy an apron, what can I say? On that note, I'm glad to be able to share my kitchen with you because the first thing I did during quarantine was to paint this kitchen. As you can see, it's white uppers and black lowers, and when I moved in 3 years ago, was it 3 years ago? Yeah, it was this funny colored pickle color. Not a big fan going with these blue countertops. Wasn't a big fan of the blue countertops. I've never seen blue countertops before. I don't know if you have. So in order to learn to like my blue countertops, I thought I should bring out colors that match it better. This, not so much. So that's why I went with the white and black to bring out the color that's in the countertop already. And of course, since I'm on YouTube now, I'm going to use that as an excuse to try to convince my husband to help me put a backsplash up. So let me know in the comments below what you think of this before we put it up. But I'm hoping to convince him, since I'm doing a weekly episode for YouTube now, that I need a really pretty backsplash. So this is the one he's picked out actually, and I actually like it. So also I wanted to share with you this adorable cow my daughter gave me today. She picked this up because she just knew I had to have it. Isn't it adorable? It's so cute. I love him. He's going to go in my funny garden room. That's where all my funny little figures go. But for today, he's going to watch us cook. All right, the next thing I do is I have to put my hair up. A little funny story. When the kids were growing up, it was kind of a game on who had one of mom's hairs in their food. I hate to admit this, but rarely did I put my hair up when I was cooking for them. And it seemed like at least once or twice a week somebody was pulling a hair out of their food at dinner time. So not so fun. So now I try to be good about putting my hair up. All right, next up, I want to show you the batch that I made prior to this filming. And of course, I wanted to be able to show you what you're about ready to make. And look how crispy this bacon is. It is so yummy. And of course, Loki's waiting for his share because we have to show you that it is Loki approved. Yeah. So I have an eggplant. I have half an eggplant because I already did a trial run and messed up on my lighting. So we have half an eggplant left. So I'm going to cut the eggplant, the half of eggplant that I have, into 3 slices because that's all I need, nice thin slices. And I'm going to use a mandolin, which I have never had until recently. These things are wonderful, and the first day I brought this home, it was hilarious. Well, kind of hilarious. Brian thought he'd help me in the kitchen, and we were having sliced zucchini on the grill, so he started slicing the zucchini. And he walked away. He just kind of left the zucchini on the counter and walked upstairs, and I was wondering, okay, he offered to help, but he just walked away. And then he yells back and he says, you might want to throw that hunk of skin out instead of serving it up with our dinner tonight. He basically sliced the zucchini without using this tool and sliced part of his finger off. Yeah, not fun. So note to self, if you buy a mandolin, always use this part for safety. Safety in the kitchen. So we're going to slice it nice and thin. On this mandolin there are several settings. The smallest setting I have tried did not like how flimsy the eggplant came out. it was so thin that I could barely handle it without it breaking. So obviously that did not work well. So this is on the second setting. So basically still very, very thin, but not the thinnest setting at all. Okay, see, there's my preheated oven already, and we're gonna be ready to put this in shortly. Okay, I can get a few more slices out of there carefully without getting my fingers in there. So I already rinsed off the eggplant. As far as having to peel it, it's a personal preference. I don't feel the need to. I think it's fine, especially because when you slice it up, it ends up just being a tiny edge to your bacon and it still works fine. So I have a pile of thinly sliced eggplant. I'm going to take my cookie tray and spray it. It definitely needs spray because of the fact that an eggplant is 92% water, and the whole thing that we're trying to do is kind of dehydrate your vegetable to make it crispy like bacon. So oh geez, I just got a mouthful of that aerosol, excuse me. So we basically layer all of our pieces of eggplant on here. I didn't have the nicest pieces for y'all, but here, we'll try to get the biggest ones on here. I was working with a small piece of eggplant that was left over. Like I said, I had a trial run. I'm trying to learn how to be a lighting crew, a videography crew, and the star of her own cooking show all at once. So bear with me. It's a learning curve. I'm really enjoying the food that I'm creating in the kitchen though, so I just thought it was worth learning so I can help share that with other people. All right, I'm gonna get another slice or two out of here, I think. Okay, good enough for the purposes of this episode. Our ingredients, pretty simple. We got 1 to 2 tablespoons olive oil. You could probably use any oil you want. You definitely need a little bit of oil because that's gonna help with the crisping nature. I have all my ingredients set over here to the side just for a good visual. I found with all the cooking episodes that I've watched on YouTube, I appreciate being able to see it. A lot of people kind of do this on YouTube, but then I don't have a good visual of what kind of packaging said ingredient comes in, so I thought I'd give you that example. For example, if you don't ever use nutritional yeast, which is a plant-based diet must-have, I wanted you to see that it comes in a package like this, and it can be found in your baking aisle. It's a powder. Anyway, so here are all your ingredients. So then I've got 1.5 tablespoons of tamari, 1 tablespoon soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of Michigan maple syrup. Of course, you can use any maple syrup you want, but Michigan maple syrup is the bomb. We're known for it. It is really good. I've got 1 teaspoon of a liquid smoke, and this is probably the ingredient that really goes the furthest in making this like bacon, as well as we have smoked paprika, not just paprika, but smoked paprika, 1 teaspoon of that. We've got 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and if you're wondering why I'm looking over here, it's because I don't have a great memory, and I have a dry erase board with all these ingredients on it. It works. 1 tablespoon of nutritional yeast. And then we've got a 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Now, obviously with all these ingredients for what we're doing, you can tweak them a little bit as you end up with the flavors that you want. But the most important ingredients in here, I really think, are the smoked paprika and the liquid smoke, obviously. And my nutritional yeast stuck to the bottom of this wet dish before I put it in. So let me get the rest in there. Okay. It is as simple as whisking it all up. So we have a nice marinade for our eggplant. Now, like I said, I watched a lot of different episodes on how to make this eggplant bacon. Some of the ways that they've done it is, okay, where's my basting brush? Some of the ways that they've taken the eggplant and they've literally like bathed it in your bowl and then put it on your cookie sheet. I wasn't a big fan of that method. It was quite messy, and I just didn't care for it. So I like the method of using a basting brush to baste it. I'll give you a little secret as to why I like this method better. I'm not an artist like my daughter, but this is fun because it makes me feel like I'm an artist. Because I'm painting on my flavor. That's the way I figure. So I have fun with it. I can't paint very well on a canvas, but I sure as heck can paint on flavor on an eggplant, because this marinade makes eggplant taste so good. And that's something, as a new plant-based diet eater, I have found the trick about why the food tastes so good is they do use a lot of different seasonings to enhance your natural flavors in your fruits and vegetables, mostly vegetables, of course. But it's also about texture. If you can mimic certain textures that you're used to eating in other foods, that's really where you're finding some of the enjoyment in eating, like having that crispness of the bacon with that smoked flavor. You're gonna find that with this eggplant bacon, and then you won't miss the real bacon so much. When I look at real bacon now, it kind of makes my stomach turn, actually, because of all the fat on it. Because I've been eating this for several months now, this is one of the first fun things that I learned how to make from the YouTube tutorials. When I saw something, when vegan bacon flashed by on the screen, I was like, what? How can you make vegan bacon? I just had to see it for myself. So I whipped this up and I was astonished. So that's why this is the first thing that I needed to share with you, because I thought even my son might like this. Anyway, so I'm just having fun painting on the flavor. Okay, so my oven's already preheated, of course. We're gonna stick this in a 325 oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. And then we're gonna flip it, and then we'll put it in for another 15 to 20. Now, there's no exact science on how long you keep it in, I'll be honest, because it really depends on how saturated your eggplant is with your marinade. It's also dependent on your oven and your cookie sheet, what kind of cookie sheet you have. I've used different cookie sheets, and the time that it was in the oven was longer. So just experiment with the time frame, but be prepared to spend at least 45 minutes of bake time for your eggplant as far as planning. Okay, so while the bacon is cooking, we're gonna make some hummus for my sandwich. So the first thing I'm gonna do is open a can of garbanzo beans, otherwise chickpeas, same. I'm gonna drain the chickpeas. Now, this liquid does not need to go down the drain, which I used to always do in the past, until my son-in-law made this great whipped topping. Apparently, if you take this liquid, it is called aquafaba. There's actually a name to the liquid that's in this can, aquafaba. And if you take this liquid, let it chill really, really good, add some sugar and vanilla, and whip it up really well, apparently it makes a wonderful non-dairy whipped topping. I haven't tried it yet. So I have a Vitamix. You can use a food processor just as easily. The reason I have a Vitamix is because of the fact that my husband started buying tropical smoothies about 3 times a week. And like I said, I'm frugal, and I thought they were a little too expensive, so I justified the expense of a Vitamix because I figured over time we would save money if I started making his smoothies for him. which I did for about 3 weeks until I got tired of doing it first thing in the morning. Okay, so your can of chickpeas, a 1/4 cup of lemon juice, a 1/4 cup of tahini. For those of you that don't know what tahini is, it is sesame paste, right? Yes, my eyesight is bad. And this is what the jar looks like. Okay, so those are really your only liquids in there, so you can add like maybe 3 or 4 tablespoons of either water or vegetable broth. I like vegetable broth. Obviously, it just gives a little more flavor, adds a few more nutrients since vegetable broth is made from vegetables. 1 heaping teaspoon of garlic. I'm all about shortcuts in the kitchen, so you can use fresh garlic, obviously. This is my go-to only because it's much quicker and I find it to be just as good. 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. 1 teaspoon of salt. And we could put a little bit of pepper in there too. I'm going to put just about a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper in here. And then hummus is one of those things that you can flavor it according to your taste. It's very versatile. It's kind of like a potato. You can put so many different things on potatoes for the flavor of it. Chickpeas are so versatile, and they'll take on a flavor that you add to it. I personally like to add dry mustard to mine, so I add anywhere between a 1/2 teaspoon to a teaspoon because I use my hummus on sandwiches a lot. So I just love that added mustard flavor. I've just always been a mustard fan. And then you blend it up. And there you go, a nice creamy hummus. And that's what your hummus will look like. So this is protein packed. So much cheaper to make it at home than to buy it in the grocery store, but I've been buying it in the grocery store for years, and I can't believe it was this easy to make. Who knew? Well, obviously I didn't. Okay, on to make the sandwich. I'm so excited. I'm getting so hungry. So my personal taste, obviously at this point you can make it however you want. That's kind of the nature of food, right? But I am going to take this yummy mustardy hummus and I spread it on my sandwich quite thick. And I have it on a Kaiser bun. Unfortunately, it's not a New York Kaiser bun. I love Kaiser rolls from New York. Cannot find one that duplicates ones from New York. On a typical BLT, you would have lettuce. I hate to tell you this, but lettuce is very void of nutrients, so I use parsley instead. And this is fresh out of my garden. I love parsley. And then a huge slice of tomato and a little bit of onion, not too much. I do love some onion though. Hold on, I hear you, kitty. Come on, there's Fatty. And bacon. Yum. So this is the yummiest BLT sandwich that is good for your heart and arteries too. Tell me that doesn't look yummy. It is. It is very yummy. Time for the taste test. Another party for my taste buds. I just love it. It's so good. When a healthy sandwich can taste this good, I honestly don't know why you would want to eat something that clogs your arteries. I'm sorry, that's just me. Thanks for joining Loki and I today in the kitchen. I hope you enjoy your vegan bacon as much as we do. And if you like the jewelry I'm sporting, check it out on todrawattention.com. That's my daughter's website. Please join us next week for another party for your taste buds.